Hi everyone, I'm Margarita. First of all, I would like to apologize for my English and my pronunciation. I would speak my native language, but I assume that there will be a few of you who don't speak fluent Russian. So yeah, you gotta be patient here. I'm a mobile marketing expert with a few years of experience working with mobile games and apps under my belt. I also cooperate with big agencies and brands, helping them to develop, implement and create marketing strategies for their products. But for now, I'm gonna focus on indies. You gotta know that even a marketing budget as small as $5,000 might be not realistic for an indie developer. But fortunately, it's 2014, and there are so many ways to market great apps. First of all, the app has to be great, especially if you operate without a real marketing budget. Product comes first, especially when your app is kind of app that people will love to play or just have. Then there are plenty of free or next to free resources and marketing strategies to market your app. Today I'm going to share some tips. I hope that you will find them useful. And I'm going to cover topics like App Store and app optimization, creating a great landing page, the basics of PR and community growth, the importance of virality, sociality, and analytics. So let's rock and roll. There are a few important steps you should make before launching your app. The reality is that it is nearly impossible to rise up to the top of Apple Store or Google Play for 99% of developers. So for those of you that are not a part of a major studio and who don't have a real marketing budget for your own marketing team, the least you can do is to take some steps to improve how discoverable you are on the App Store, on the App Stores. And the first thing I'm going to talk about today is A/B test. It is essential to have a great icon and the first screenshot. Why? Because that's the first thing users see about your app, and it greatly impacts on users' decision to tap through and see your App Store page and decide whether they want to download your app. These two simple things can have the highest impact on users' decision. And in order to determine what the best icon and screenshot for your launch is, try a simple A/B test. As a good benchmark from various projects, I always recommend the following plan. So the first thing you should do is to get more than one initial draft, 3 or more preferably. Sample the various icons on a mobile banner using the same copy and call to action. The link to the landing page is really irrelevant, so you don't care. I mean, you can lead your users to your own social, like Facebook page or a created fan page for your product. Set up a campaign on AdWords or Facebook. Personally, I prefer AdWords because it's a little cheaper, so you basically can get the same result spending a little less money. And you gotta invest at least $100 per each banner. But it really depends, because it can be either $100 or at least you should get 1,000 clicks. You can reach 1,000 clicks under $100 actually. You should get the first CTR, which is click-through rate, within a few hours, a couple hours. Then analyze CTR and go with the image that has the highest CTR. Well, actually, I have kind of dropped here. Yeah, let's go next. Keywords. Choose your keywords wisely. You know that Apple gives you only 99 characters to define your keywords, so try make the best of it. Separate every word by a comma. No spaces. Apple seems to be handling plurals better now, so you can save precious characters for your keywords that way too. There are no bonuses from using whole phrases anymore, so just use the keywords composed on the search phrases you want to be found with. Just like regular SEO, if a keyword or combination of keywords for your app name is overused, then try to come up with something different, like synonyms or any other way to say it that people might use. Better to be in the top 5 results of an average search keyword than to be in top 100 of a highly searched keyword. Oh, and one more thing, don't use anyone's trademark. That's forbidden, unless it's your own, of course. Also, how to define the best keyword. You know that there are plenty of cool services like a Penny or Mobile Dev HQ. So these guys can help you to figure out some of your competitor keywords, find new ones, and etc. You can also have a look at what's happening on the web using tools like Google Trends and Google AdWords. I personally use those mostly for my personal market research, and they help a lot. So the ultimate goal is to find keywords that are not too competitive, relate highly to your app, that people actually search, and that you have a high probability to be ranked for. Let's go next. Rate me alert. Ratings are key. Make sure to ask users to rate your app. Why it is so important? Please raise your hand if you ever decided to skip an app download because the app had really too few ratings. Yeah, that's the answer. But you gotta be very smart with rate me alerts too, and here is why. I have a really good example, a few examples for you. Would anyone tell me what's wrong with this alert? It's Instagram, by the way, which is funny. You can come closer. It's actually pretty obvious. 1, 2, 3. No, okay. So guys, when an alert like that pops up on your screen, when you're in the middle of something, you subconsciously want to make this thing go away. And you would press on the first button that is the most highlighted. Which button is this? No. So what would users do? They would just skip the alert, they won't go to the App Store, and they won't rate your app. So please don't do that unless you want your users, unless you just want to irritate your users with the alert and at the same time not to get any profit out of it. At the same time, I have another good example or few. I discovered these guys. I've never seen that before, but these guys actually use Rate Me Alert in 2 steps. At first, this alert pops up asking how would you like to rate the app, how many stars would you give. So you kind of press how many stars you want. That's an example when I pressed 5 stars and I got another alert, right, which will lead to the App Store. When I pressed 1 star, another alert popped up. It asked me to write a feedback, what I didn't like about the app. So this works pretty good, and that's why. That's not an Instagram, that's just an average photo editing tool.
Yeah, you did the same thing.
Yeah, they're pretty great. And remember, you can't incentivize users to rate your app anymore. Apple has forbidden that. Though I keep seeing some games and a recent launch on the App Store grossing top that still have incentivized alerts. Apple can be very selective sometimes, but I bet that you don't want to take that risk. All right, let's go next. So before you announce your app to the world, you'll need to think of and eventually create a specific place where you will bring your audience to online. Enter your app's landing page. So what's a landing page and why is it so crucial to have one? Your landing page's primary purpose is to convert visitors to future users. Creating a good landing page may be pricey and time-consuming, but after all, guys, you're developers. Just do something. And there are a lot of other tools to create a landing page. Actually, an answer could be an all good WordPress. It's simple, and it gives you the power to build a simple landing page that will let you communicate with potential users. Unfortunately, I don't have enough time, and I bet you don't have enough patience to sit through as I list every don't and do's that creating a landing page might be, but I have a pretty good draft here if you want to review it later. Okay, so let's go next. Public relations. This might come as a shocker, but public relations is not really rocket science. As much as you're hoping to tout your app as the next Instagram or Candy Crush saga, the harsh reality is that your app not going to be covered by tired one publications like TechCrunch and IGN. They don't owe you any favors unless you're friends with them. And so don't get mad with them when they don't respond to your pitches. So with that in mind, how do you maximize your chances of obtaining all that coveted press coverage? Here is a few pointers. First of all, you have to engage your target websites and make sure they're the right targets. You have to know that not all of the tech websites cover the same news breaks and title covers. Some of them write more about mid-core projects, the others about hardcore or casual. So choose wisely and analyze and sort all of the tech resources you are going to reach out to. To boot, respect editorial rules and be attentive to all site submission requirements. In short, play the ball and follow the guidelines when you do submitting. You are not above the law. The second, get the direct contacts of editors and editors-in-chief. If they're not available on the website, you can put a little effort and cleverness and go out on the web looking for them. The information you're looking for is out there. Those can be their blogs, their social media pages, LinkedIn, whatever. From my personal experience too, the best place to hunt down an editor is Twitter. Seriously, editors adore Twitter, and sometimes they respond to tweets even more often than they do to emails. And lastly, for most developers, it takes more than just one emailed pitch to tech journalists to receive feedback. Be persistent and send follow-up emails. Don't try to be a gentleman here. You're not trying to get a date. You're trying to make your app success. Let's go next. So now let's speak about the information you need to send with your submission to make it shine. Here is a simple rundown of what you should include if you want editors to pay attention, or at least to give your submission a chance. First one is short introduction of yourself and your app. Read the shorter, the better. It has to be a short description of who you are and why your app is so awesome. Don't lie, don't exaggerate, but put your best foot forward. Basically, pretend like you're begging in this part. Show off any awards about your app has won, if any. Then go links to your app stores, Google Play, and its landing page. A copy of your app's press release. Don't worry, we're going to talk about it a bit later. The screenshots. The screenshots has to be really yummy. And the promo video. Guys, I know that creating a promo video can be very pricey, and I would rather have no promo video at all than to have a cheap one. But if you have a budget, like a certain budget, and you're hesitating whether to spend it on making a promo video or not, I would definitely say yes. And here's why. Visuals are very important, and such as like regular users, editors decide whether they want to check out your app or not by the visuals that you send to them. If you have really cool screenshots and you have a really good video, then there is a really high probability that your app will be discovered before all of the other apps that are being submitted to them. So yeah. All right. Let's go next. Press release. Press release is a very important tool, but I'm not going to tell you how to do it. There are plenty of templates all over the internet. I just decided to keep this slide for you because, unfortunately, I rarely see indie developers doing it right. But I really wanted to talk about other things. There is one more cool thing that you can do with your press release at almost no cost, and to increase the visibility of your app and your product online, is to use press release distribution services. These guys cost almost nothing. So some of them cost like $20 per release, some of them require cheap subscriptions, the others cost not at all. This is a really solid way to increase the visibility of your app and to increase its search rankings. Let's go next. Anticipation. You have to create intrigue about your app even before it's launched. It is very important to have a loyal community by the time you launch your app or a big update. So start building this community now. You can cover blogs, forums, basically any audience source where can be your potential target audience. Share teasers and sneak peeks. Guys, you gotta know who Badland is. Please raise your hand. You know the Badland, the game, right? So for those of you who don't, Badland is a critically acclaimed and award-winning game that was launched in the beginning of 2013. This is the perfect example of a pre-launch marketing. There were only 2 developers. They created a really cool blog, landing page with a blog, a prior year or so to the app launch. And they were doing nothing but sharing one screenshot every month. These screenshots were picked up by all of the top press and was just distributed. So by the time the launch date was announced, this game had become one of the most anticipated games of the year. That's how it works. And one more thing, you can actually start communicating with your audience on the stage of development. So share screenshots, share concepts. You can run A/B tests with your audience. You can do feature surveys. You can gather feedback from your audience, analyze it, and implement improvements into your app even before it's launched. So, well, actually, you gotta know that gamers know best what they would like to use, what game would be better for them. Let's go next. Virality. Bake viral features into your game. I'm not talking about making another Candy Crush Saga, though it's a great example of a viral game. Simply encourage your users to share invitations or their on their social networks. For example, they can share their scores, like you see on my slide. People consequently, whether through word of mouth or peer pressure friends, would pick up your game. And social networks again. Use social networks to keep communication with your users. It's free. You can share latest news and updates. You can gather feedback from your users. But you should update content frequently. Well, actually, for the product that I work and I used to work with, I never had enough time to do solid social media marketing. I didn't have time to do that. I created fan pages, and actually, I was really assumed by how the community was growing by itself. Users started communicating with themselves. They created conversation threads. They were discussing the games. They were discussing the levels that they couldn't go through. It was very, very surprising and amazing. But you gotta be careful here too, because you have to keep an eye on it. Whether bad comments, negative comments show up, or bug reports, of course, you're the first one who needs to respond to that. And the last part that I want to talk about today, it's analytics. All the above efforts will be useless if you don't measure efficiency of every traffic source you use and your users' behavior inside your app. Basic free app analytic tools such as Flurry and Google Analytics will allow you to see the weakest and strongest aspects about your app, user retention, demographic user figures, on what step users lose interest to your app, what prevents them from making in-app purchases, and many other useful information. I'm not talking today about user acquisition, but if you ever decide to spend money on acquiring users, please make sure you use a solid app tracking tool, for example, such as MIT by His Offers, which is tuned now. I told you before that I happen to work with really big brands, and sometimes it takes me time to explain them why they need to use analytics. These guys have significant budgets and they're ready to spend it without even measuring how quality the acquired users are. So I've seen a lot of epic fails in the industry. As the bottom line, guys, remember, when you're operating on a shoestring budget, time is your budget. Don't waste time on making mistakes when you can learn from others. And that's it. Thank you.
So we have like 5 minutes for questions if anyone has a question.
If anyone has a question.
I have a question.
All right.
Of all the stuff you said, what's like the one that is the most important that everyone has to do?
I'd say pretty much everything, because if you have really bad visuals on your App Store page, but you're trying to push your game and get cover big websites, you know, so just one thing comes after another. So you gotta make a symbiosis of everything. Go ahead.
How much do you spend on your game trailers, and who do you go to?
There are plenty. Well, actually, I origin from Eastern Ukraine, and we have some really cool subcontractors out there if you have time to find ones. A really good game trailer can be very pricey, so it comes up from $5,000 and higher. You can find someone who can do it for less, but I wouldn't be sure that the quality will be good.
When you spend the $5,000, do they send you multiples and you choose from one, or do you just sort of look at stuff they've made before and then you get whatever they give you, you get?
Usually, it's a really long-term work, because you need to you see the draft, then you see things that you want to change, then it really depends on the subcontractor. If subcontractor is good, then they will make all of the necessary changes. If the subcontractor is not that good, they will just say, hey, come on, you just paid me my money, I don't want to do anything else, I did your work. So it really depends. It also depends on music, because as usually they don't take care of audio part, so you have to take care of that separately. So yeah, it's a really complicated work, to be honest. Go ahead.
When you're building an audience, like say 1 to 2 months prior to launch, what's the ideal frequency of social media engagement?
Well, are you asking just about social media, not about blogs or anything? Because I suggest to start working with the with community as early as possible. As soon as you get your concept, and you can already start sharing it with your potential audience and gather feedback from them. If you're talking about social media, it really depends. If you have enough screenshots and concepts and like your characters, drafts, you know, to share, to ask your audience what they think about it, go ahead. You can do it like as frequent as you want. Usually it's like up around 1 image per week, maybe. But it really depends. All right? No more questions?
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much.